What if I told you that there exists a temple complex in India where sculptures are carved that scholars have been trying to decode for centuries, where stone walls tell stories that make even the most learned historians pause in wonder, where ancient architects created art so intricate that modern experts still debate its true meaning, where thousands of figures frozen in stone reveal secrets about a civilization far more advanced than we ever imagined? Is this merely religious architecture? Or is it a living encyclopedia carved in stone that challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient India? Let us today uncover the complete story of Khajuraho temples and the mysterious sculptures that adorn their walls. In the heart of Madhya Pradesh, far from the chaos of modern cities, stands a group of temples that seems to exist in a different time altogether. The morning sun touches the temple spires, and the stone itself appears to come alive. Every surface, every corner, every wall is covered with sculptures so detailed that you can see the expressions on faces carved 1,000 years ago. The jewelry on the figures looks so real that you feel you could touch it. The fabric of their clothes seems to flow in an invisible wind. But what captures everyone's attention, what makes visitors stop and stare, what has made Khajuraho world famous, are those sculptures that depict human intimacy in ways that seem impossible for structures meant for worship. The question that echoes in every mind is simple yet profound. Why would ancient temple builders create such explicit imagery on the walls of sacred spaces? What purpose could these sculptures possibly serve? And why has this mystery remained unsolved despite centuries of research? To understand this, we must first travel back in time. The year is 950 CE. The Chandela dynasty rules over the region of Bundelkhand. Their empire is prosperous, their armies are strong, and their devotion to art and architecture is unmatched. King Yashovarman and his successors decide to create something that will stand as a testament to their glory for all eternity. Over the next 200 years, 85 temples are constructed in Khajuraho. Today, only 25 of these magnificent structures survive, but what remains is enough to leave the entire world spellbound. Each temple took decades to complete. Thousands of sculptors worked day and night. The stone used was sandstone, brought from quarries located kilometers away. But transporting stone was only the beginning. The real challenge was carving it. Because these were not simple sculptures. Each figure required months of work. Every curve had to be perfect. Every expression had to convey emotion. Every posture had to tell a story. And the sculptors achieved this with tools that we today would consider primitive. Now let us talk about what makes Khajuraho truly unique. The temples are divided into three groups: the Western group, the Eastern group, and the Southern group. The Western group, which includes the famous Kandarya Mahadeva temple, is the most elaborate. This temple alone has over 870 sculptures covering its exterior walls. 870 individual pieces of art, each different from the other, each telling its own story. The temple rises to a height of 31 meters. Its shikhara, or spire, is designed to resemble the peaks of Mount Kailash, the sacred abode of Lord Shiva. But as you walk around this temple, as your eyes move from one sculpture to another, you notice something. Among the gods and goddesses, among the celestial beings and mythological creatures, among the warriors and musicians, there are those sculptures. The ones that depict Mithuna, or couples in intimate embrace. The ones that show human bodies intertwined in ways that seem too bold for a house of worship. The ones that make you wonder what the ancient builders were thinking. Let me share with you the numbers that will help you understand the scale. Out of the thousands of sculptures across all Khajuraho temples, only about 10% are erotic in nature. Yes, you heard that right. Only 10%. But these 10% have become so famous that many people believe the entire temple complex is covered with such imagery. This is the first misconception we must clear. Khajuraho is not a temple of erotica. It is a temple where erotica is one small part of a much larger narrative. So what are the other 90% of sculptures? They depict daily life from 1,000 years ago. Women applying makeup, musicians playing instruments, farmers working in fields, soldiers preparing for battle, teachers instructing students, mothers caring for children, dancing girls performing, merchants conducting business. Every aspect of human existence is captured in stone. The temples are essentially a frozen snapshot of medieval Indian society. They are history books written not in words but in images. Now we come to the theories. Over the years, scholars from across the world have proposed various explanations for the erotic sculptures. Let me walk you through the most prominent ones. The first theory suggests that these sculptures serve as protection against evil. In ancient Hindu belief, lightning and negative energies avoid places that depict scenes of intimacy and creation. By carving these images on temple walls, the builders were creating a protective shield. The temples would remain safe from natural disasters and malevolent forces. This theory is supported by the fact that similar protective sculptures exist in other ancient Indian temples as well. The second theory is rooted in Tantric philosophy. Tantra, which was widely practiced during the Chandela period, views physical union as a path to spiritual enlightenment. The merging of masculine and feminine energies, represented by Shiva and Shakti, is considered the ultimate truth of existence. The erotic sculptures, according to this interpretation, are not meant to arouse desire, but to transcend it. They represent the final stage of spiritual evolution, where the soul merges with the divine. This is why these sculptures are placed on the outer walls of temples. As devotees move inward toward the sanctum, they symbolically move beyond physical desires toward pure devotion. The third theory takes a more practical approach. Ancient Indian philosophy divides human life into 4 stages or ashrams. Brahmacharya, the stage of learning and celibacy; Grihastha, the stage of family and worldly responsibilities; Vanaprastha, the stage of gradual detachment; and Sannyasa, the stage of complete renunciation. The erotic sculptures represent the second stage, Grihastha, where physical intimacy and procreation are natural and necessary aspects of life. By including these sculptures alongside images of gods and ascetics, the temple acknowledges that spirituality does not require rejection of worldly life. It embraces all stages of human existence as equally valid paths. The fourth theory is perhaps the most controversial. Some scholars believe that the sculptures were created to test the devotion of worshippers. Anyone entering the temple would be exposed to images of desire and temptation on the outer walls. Only those who could look past these distractions and maintain their focus on the divine would be worthy of entering the inner sanctum. The temple becomes a physical representation of the spiritual journey where one must overcome worldly attachments to reach enlightenment. But there is a fifth perspective that is often overlooked. What if these sculptures are simply art? What if the ancient sculptors were creating beauty as they understood it? What if they were celebrating the human form in all its dimensions? Ancient India had a very different relationship with sexuality compared to the society that came after centuries of foreign rule and colonial influence. Texts like the Kama Sutra were not considered obscene, but were treated as legitimate branches of knowledge. Temple sculptures reflected this openness. They did not separate the sacred from the sensual because such separation did not exist in the cultural mindset of that era. The construction techniques used in Khajuraho temples add another layer of mystery. The stones are fitted together without any mortar or cement. Each block is precisely cut to interlock with its neighbors. This technique, known as dry masonry, requires extraordinary precision. Even a millimeter of error would make the structure unstable. Yet these temples have stood for over 1,000 years, surviving earthquakes, storms, and the passage of time. How did ancient architects achieve such accuracy without modern measuring instruments? How did they calculate load distribution and structural stability? These questions remain partially answered even today. The symbolism extends beyond individual sculptures to the overall design. Each temple is constructed as per Vastu Shastra, the ancient Indian science of architecture. The layout follows precise mathematical ratios. The height of the shikara, the dimensions of the mandapa, the position of the garbhagriha or sanctum, everything is calculated to create specific energy patterns. The temples are aligned with celestial bodies. During certain times of the year, sunlight enters the sanctum at precise angles to illuminate the deity. This integration of astronomy, mathematics, geometry, and spirituality in a single structure demonstrates the sophistication of ancient Indian knowledge systems. Let me tell you about the decline and rediscovery of Khajuraho. After the fall of the Chandela dynasty, these temples were gradually abandoned. The jungles slowly reclaimed the area. For centuries, Khajuraho remained hidden from the world, known only to local villagers. Then, in 1838, a British engineer named T.S. Burt was surveying the region when he stumbled upon these magnificent structures emerging from dense vegetation. His discovery brought Khajuraho back to global attention. Archaeological surveys began. Restoration work started, and slowly the world began to appreciate what had been lying forgotten in the forests of Madhya Pradesh. Today, Khajuraho is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Millions of tourists visit every year. Scholars continue to study and debate the meanings encoded in stone. The temples have become a symbol of India's rich cultural heritage, but they are also a reminder of how perspectives change with time. What was once a natural expression of life became controversial under different cultural lenses. What ancient society celebrated openly became a subject of whispers and embarrassment. And now, in the modern era, we are slowly learning to appreciate these sculptures again. Not with the mindset of scandal, but with the understanding that they represent a worldview very different from our own. The greatest lesson from Khajuraho is perhaps this: a civilization confident in its values does not shy away from any aspect of human existence. It integrates everything into its spiritual framework. Birth and death, pleasure and pain, desire and renunciation, all are acknowledged as parts of the same cosmic dance. The temples do not preach, they do not judge. They simply present life as it is, in all its complexity and beauty. As we stand before these ancient walls today, as we look at sculptures created by hands that turned to dust centuries ago, we are not just seeing art. We are witnessing a dialogue across time. The ancient sculptors are speaking to us, telling us about their world, their beliefs, their understanding of existence. And perhaps, if we listen carefully enough, if we look beyond our own cultural conditioning and modern prejudices, we might learn something profound. Not just about them, but about ourselves. About what we have lost in our journey from then to now. About perspectives we might need to rediscover. About the many ways humans have sought to understand their place in this vast, mysterious universe. The sculptures of Khajuraho continue to puzzle, provoke, and inspire. And maybe that is exactly what they were meant to do. Not to provide easy answers, but to make us question. Not to shock, but to make us think. Not to separate the physical from the spiritual, but to show us that perhaps they were never separate at all.